I'd forgotten how much I hate space travel.
It's time for Cinema Savants.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Your weekly source for movie news.
What are your superpowers again?
I'm rich. Movie reviews.
You gave me the only parachute without hesitation.
I thought there was another one.
And the occasional Hollywood rumor.
Dad! Tom Cruise won't come out of the closet.
Hosted by Todd Vandenberg.
He stuck his finger in the end of your what?
And Rob Steele.
We know each other. He's a friend from work.
Don't do anything stupid, all right?
Oh, don't do anything stupid. That's all we do. No, not really. Welcome to another episode of Cinema Savants. He's Todd Vandenberg. I'm William Hartnell. Because I want to be, damn it. We've got another, hour or so of some really cool movie news to go over. Wanted to get started this week rather disjointedly because I have no idea what's going on anymore. But that's a personal thing. The box office looks very strange.
It does.
Because there's one movie that I did a review on it a couple of weeks ago, and I said it was kind of crap if you actually liked the original source material, but they kept plugging it anyway, and now Ghost in the Shell, after a whopping 4 weeks, is number 19 in the top 20, if you want to go out down that far. Or it could be at the bottom of the top 19, depends on your point of view. I wasn't exactly expecting it to fall that quick, but does this surprise you at all, any?
No, it doesn't. I mean, it's one of those it's an interesting failure. You know, like you said, it's really pretty to look at. And it has more to recommend it than that. But, I liked it more than you did. But even I was just kind of like, it was okay. Overseas, the foreign market has done pretty well, 123 million. But that's still not huge. It did less than 1 million in the U.S. this past weekend, which is, not so good. They were obviously expecting big things. This was going to be another one of their tent poles, and they could have done, my gosh, they could have done teen movies based on this, and they won't be doing any.
No.
Yeah. And
not this way.
No, I mean, and eventually they'll probably come back and they'll reboot it, but it'll be, well, the way reboots go now, it'll probably be 5 years from now. But realistically, it should be 10 or 15 at the least before they touch this again, and they let someone who knows what they're doing do something with it, because they pooed the bed with this one, to be somewhat genteel about it. I mean, that's a huge drop. I mean, it dropped over 60%, and that's after it dropped. It's plummeting. I mean, there are a few other movies that have really had big drops. Power Rangers, which we haven't talked about much, has had a big precipitous drop. But Power Rangers has only been out 1 week longer and has done more than twice as much money as Ghost in the Shell. And it's not exactly a big success story either. So, that's Ghost in the Shell is not working out at all.
I think, unfortunately, the fate of the Furious is, even though it dropped 60% this past week, still made $40 million.
Yep.
I'm sorry, 38.6. What? 40. Go ahead. Take the other 1.2.
Although you look at that reported budget, it's like $250 million budget. I mean, it's making money, because overseas it's done almost $250 million, and yes, that's billion with a B. So worldwide take is over $900 million already. So they're not crying. There will be more of these movies, sadly. And I know you have more to talk about it, but I just wanted I did not see it, and I will not see it, because I did see one extended clip, and it's a race that happens early in the film. And the guy gets wrecked, and he gets firebombed. And this is Dom, who almost gets wrecked and firebombed. And there are flames shooting out of his engine. And it's so hot that it bursts out his windshield, and the flames are coming into the vehicle. So, of course, what do you do when you're in a nip and tuck race with these incredibly fast cars? You cut the steering wheel hard, and you put it into reverse. And somehow he knew he would need a gear that's topped out higher than his top end gear, because he's driving faster in reverse, and he wins the race in reverse. like, I don't care about the physics, ignoring physics and how they jump cars from building to building and all this other crap. It's like, come on. That alone is beyond stupid. So, no, like I said, I've seen one of them in its entirety, and I don't ever need to see any more because, come on. These are supposed to be kind of grounded. They're not supercars. They're cars. Cars don't do like 180 in reverse. So, enough. No.
Even the Transformers don't do that. When they stand up and walk. No.
Oh, my God.
It doesn't work. The whole movie, I think, just in concept, belongs quite firmly in the bad category in our weekly segment, the good, the bad, and the whatever. I'm going to make more of those eventually. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. We do have some good news this week. Coming out of the Guardians of the Galaxy camp, James Gunn, who wrote Volume 1 and everyone loved, and Volume 2, who everyone seems to love, is writing and directing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I think that's good news.
That's very good news.
Because if the second movie is actually as good as the first one, which so far it looks like it's going to be, then hey, off we go. Doctor Who news. And I don't know if you watched the new season of Doctor Who, which started last week. New episode last night. This new season is looking really good if these first 2 episodes are any indication. Harkening back to classic Doctor Who. And even more so in this year's Christmas special, where, and I don't know if you saw this either, there was a biopic done on William Hartnell, who's the guy who played the original Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. He was played by a guy named David Bradley. And he did a really good job. It was, if you like Doctor Who, it's the kind of thing you should watch. If you don't, honestly, don't watch it. But if you like watching Doctor Who itself, you should be interested to know that this year's Christmas special, Bradley is coming back as William Hartnell's doctor in the episode. I heard that and I thought, that sounds awesome. Because he did the first Doctor is an old, cranky, wait a minute, the new Doctor is old and cranky. Hang on a minute, 2 old, cranky guys on a, anyway, grumpier old men.
Grumpier
Christmas special. Yeah. It looks like it's going to be really good. And there's not even a story yet. Just on cast, it's going to be hard to screw this up, I think. As opposed to a movie which has the potential for being screwed up, but I'm still putting this in good news.
Really?
The casting talk about the new live-action version of Aladdin. And right now, they're looking at getting Will Smith to play the genie. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not the good news. The good news is that there's a fallback plan. If they don't get Will Smith, Gabriel Iglesias is jumping up and down going, dude, let me do it. Let me do it. That. I love Will Smith, but not as the genie. Gabriel Iglesias would make an awesome genie, and that's the direction I should go with.
I think Will Smith would do a fine job, but Gabriel Iglesias would be fantastic. You're right. I never would have thought of him, but that'd be beautiful. That would be great.
Good and better news. So, yes, I think that would work. Other good news I came up with, and this came out yesterday, I believe. There will be a 10-episode season 11 of The X-Files later this year, allegedly. But I liked that. I've gone back and started watching ye olde X-Files back in the first few seasons when it was still good. And there's more of that.
Yeah. Did you catch the latest reboot that they did? I think the 6-episode arc.
You know what? I didn't actually.
And that's why for me this is kind of
forgetting to watch them.
This is kind of like, it's potentially good news, but it's also potentially bad because I enjoyed it, but I was underwhelmed with it. It was too, to me, it was so wrapped up in the overarching conspiracy theory, And I think they would have been much better off if they had just gone with the Monster of the Week type thing. Because for me, those were always the most fun episodes. And it was just too downbeat for me. It's great seeing those two characters back. Because obviously you don't bring back any other version other than with Mulder and Scully. And their chemistry is still spot on. And it was fun. But I would just hope that they need to lighten it a little. Because it was really, really down. And when you're doing just a short run, I think they need to intersperse it. Not all of it was just like heavy. It's not like a slog like, oh my gosh, this is miserable. This is like the X-Files version of Ironweed or something. It's not that, but they need a little more levity to it. So hopefully they'll pull it off. So yeah, overall, I'm glad that they're trying, that they're giving it another shot, and hopefully they'll, lighten it a tad.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't end up like Torchwood. I don't know if you ever watched that or not.
I did see some of Torchwood, but not to its completion.
It was a
sounds like a good
spin-off
thing.
and a program of Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
If you've never watched it, basically it's take the X-Files and set it in the Doctor Who universe, which is just as wild as it sounds. And for me, I loved like the first, let's say 75% of every episode. And in that last 25%, it just got so depressing and miserable. I will actually watch the first 75% and go, it's going to get sad from here, click.
Maybe there's a happy bunny that they show in the last minute and you're missing it now.
No. I've seen every episode and no. If I watch it again, the first episode, I guess there was the Captain Jack's awesome. The first full episode that they did with this particular team from Torchwood, the alien they came across fed off of human orgasms. Can I say that on this show?
Yes, you can.
So just imagine that as an episode. It was awesome until you get to the end of it and you go, oh no, don't end like that.
You know where that alien's not going? He's not going to the White House these days. I'll just say that.
On to the bad news. We already mentioned this movie, and I think you called it because I mentioned the feud between The Rock and Vin Diesel. It's blown over now if it existed in the first place, which is what you were suggesting, and I'll agree with you. News this week that the feud is over and that they will be reuniting in Fast and Furious 9. Now, why am I putting this in the bad news category? That's because they're making a Fast and Furious 9.
That's obvious, isn't it? Because they're making another one. Yeah.
But they're also making a spin-off with just The Rock and Vin Diesel's character, and just because neither of them have breasts, let's throw in Charlize Theron. Why? No, don't do. There's enough of them already. Let them go off and do other things. I do not like it. Anyway.
Well, whether it was real or not, 9/10 of $1 billion is a good convincer for anybody to get over their little spat. So, no shock there.
Can you smell what The Rock is spending? I don't know.
Good Lord.
The Rock needs a new boat. For his family. I can't.
How do you spend? I just wonder how you spend $250 million on a car chase movie. I know there's a lot of cars, and I know there's a submarine, but it's $250 million. That's kind of a large budget.
It's U.S. Army surplus, and at $600 a toilet seat, I don't know.
I guess. I mean, as we talked about, Ghost in the Shell looks fantastic. $110 million budget. They spent more than twice as much to make a car chase movie. Okay. Maybe although probably Vin got 50 and The Rock got 50, so that's the difference right there. So could be.
And that's why I'm not an accountant. So other bad news this week. This one came from a trailer because this goes straight into the money thing. There's a movie coming out.
Yay.
Hopefully straight to DVD. So this goes to theater, then we're sign of the apocalypse. Tom and Jerry's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, God, yes.
It is a straight scene-for-scene remake of the Gene Wilder version of the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory movie, except Tom and Jerry are pretty much constantly in the background. I cannot see any reason to make this other than a desperate cry for money. That's it. Do you see another reason? I don't.
Zero reason. Actually, even considering the desperate cry for money, I see no reason. How is this an attractive? Are there like 100 million Tom and Jerry fans who've been crying out, wishing that, I would really like to see a remake of a 40-year-old film that I'm vaguely aware of, because I'm also a Tom. It makes no sense. Makes no sense to anybody.
Something else I'm not quite getting. The next Planet of the Apes movie, War on the Planet of the Apes, or whatever, it was announced that this movie is going to be a Western. I'm like, really? It's a Western Planet of the Apes, where Caesar, played by Andy Serkis, goes up against the leader of the humans, the Colonel, played by Woody Harrelson. So it's Gollum versus Woody from Cheers, which just sounds, that sounds like a spectacular movie. But Woody Harrelson's character is called the Colonel, which apparently someone saw Ghost in the Shell and went, they called a character the Major, let's call ours the Colonel. He outranks her, ha ha ha. If these people need it, I have found a website called, it's a random name generator. Perhaps using it might be a good idea. I don't know.
Try it out once. I have not been a fan of any of these. The latest batch of the Phantom of the Apes. That's probably the 8th movie of the Planet of the Apes films. They're well made. I give them that, and they're generally well written. But to me, the apes just don't look real yet. And I'm just constantly sitting there watching this, thinking, "Wow, that's fairly decent computer-generated apes." It just doesn't look real. And the fact that the costumes that they did back in the 60s look more realistic than what they're doing now, it just throws me out of the film every time. And they just don't work for me. And I know I'm in the minority because they make a lot of money and they get good reviews. But until they get to the point where they really look like apes, it's just not happening for me. And I know that...
Did the last
you were asking?
Well, I was going to say, did the last Tarzan movie work for you?
Oh, God, no. That was a piece of crap. That was an awful movie. And the apes were part of it because it looked really fake. But, I mean, the whole thing was just a train wreck. It makes you wonder.
Including the train wreck.
Does anybody really read these things and pay attention to what's on the page? My gosh. I guess they figured, let's throw Samuel L. Jackson in it because, he'll save the movie. It's like, he can't save every movie, guys. Sorry. That was a bad... no. It wasn't...
Who put all these Mother Wutton apes on this Mother Wutton train?
Yeah. It wasn't quite John Carter of Mars, but it was close enough. There's another...
It'll do.
Yeah, it was just... And I know it doesn't quite jibe because I do enjoy the Avengers films and the Hulk doesn't quite look real, but I mean, there's no way you're going to do the Hulk other than that. So I can suspend it because you can't do it. You can't put a guy in a suit. Just doesn't work. So, and it is really well done. So, but no, for the most part, I mean, it just doesn't work for me. Sorry, guys.
Something else that doesn't work for me, and I read this just before the show, there is no guarantee of a next Star Trek movie using the cast that came out in Beyond, which to me was the best of the rebooted Star Trek series. And this comes from, what's his name? He played Spock. Give me a minute. Zachary Quinto. Kind of an odd name anyway, but... Yeah, he has said there's no guarantee they're making another one, although they're writing it. So I don't know. Positive spin at the end. He's hopeful they'll do another one, but there's no guarantee. There should be. Beyond made enough money, not necessarily in the States, but globally, to warrant another movie. I think. Do you agree? Disagree? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, although, you look at the trend in the box office, domestic has been gone down from the first reboot into the second and now into the third. So, but like you said, globally, they're at like 350. But again, that's $100 million drop global from Into Darkness, which isn't nearly as good as, it's about the same as the first one globally. So, yeah, it's a bit odd that they've decided that this is iffy. And I think they could have done a better film than they did with Star Trek Beyond. But I agree. I think it was the best of the three so far, and I think they have plenty of room to get better. So
it was
hardly a disaster.
That was actually Star Trek-ish and fun.
Yeah, so it's hardly a financial disaster. It ain't Ghost in the Shell. So for them to be saying, "Oh, this is kind of iffy," I don't quite get. Of course, it all seems to be, and I'm going to do this deliberately, somewhat star-crossed, because look how long we're waiting for Star Trek Discovery. I mean, now it's bumped back again. I mean, at this rate, is it going to be 2019 before they get this thing? I mean, now they're saying late fall this year. Yeah. We should have already been able to see the whole thing, according to the original schedule. Allegedly, yes. Which makes that alien in the Doctor Who episode happy. Anyway.
Moving on to the whatever segment of this show. There's two segments in this that I'm putting in the whatever category. Yay. One actually does have to do with Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2. It came out that there's going to be 5 mid/post-credit scenes. Now, I know that that's something they do in the Marvel movies is, here's a teaser for the next movie we're doing. But holy crap, 5 of them.
5.
That's overkill, isn't it?
That's a mini movie.
That's overkill.
That's a mini movie.
All in and of itself. If it's that important, work it into the plot. Back in the movie before the names start rolling by.
But they're just teasers. I don't really think it's going to be that important. And considering the sensibility of this thing, a couple of them will be one-offs that aren't teasers for anything. They're just little goofs. I don't mean they're going to be outtakes, I don't think, but it'll be something that was funny, but it's not a precursor of anything. So, at least one, of course, will be for their third. One will be, or a couple, will tie into Avengers 3, Infinity War, and Avengers 4, maybe, if they're going to go that route. They'll probably tease, maybe they'll tease Warlock. Who knows what they'll be doing. And maybe we'll get that Tango and Cash thing after all that you were talking about before. Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be nice.
That'd be very lovely.
Do it.
Do it. They should do it. Anyway.
I'm debating whether to put the next 2 things even on the show, but I'm going to anyway. And again, this is just before the show came out. I'm not even going to talk about Martha Gate, where Diane Lane came out with a comment about how Batman and Superman bonded because both their moms are named Martha. Shut up. The thing that came out of this that interested me, maybe, actually it kind of scared me and almost a little repulsed me. In the forthcoming Justice League movie, there's going to be a flashback to Aquaman's mother, not named Martha, thankfully. But she is going to be played by Nicole Kidman. So Nicole Kidman is playing Jason Momoa's mom. Does that work for you? Because that does not work for me.
No, doesn't work for me.
I'm not getting that. Okay, good. The other whatever news I found, it comes from movies that I know they make a lot of money, but I'm a fan of the comic books and the graphic novels that were the X-Men. Not the movies, which are good movies. I'm not knocking them as movies. I am not knocking the actors in the movies, except maybe Boo Boo, but that's just on his name. who the hell why did they name him Boo Boo? Yogi Bear fans, I don't know. Anyway, the next release dates for the next batch of X-Men movies is out. The New Mutants is apparently coming out on April 13th, 2018. Then on June 1st, Deadpool 2. Then on November 2nd, X-Men Dark Phoenix. Oh, goody. We're back to doing that story again without any of the build-up the books had. Spectacular.
Yeah.
And that's why they're in the whatever category, because I'm not going to see them. I'll watch the trailer. I'll talk about it on the show. I'm not going to see them. I'll tell you that now. Mission accomplished.
And we're done with that one. Yeah. The best X-Men movie in a long time, which means since the very first one, maybe X2, easily is Logan. And the fact that it could have been a great movie and they wasted the best of the material, like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And it's a really good film, but if they had followed the plot of their source material, which they chose not to for no damn good reason, other than sheer stupidity.
Or even bad reason.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous that they could have had a really emotionally gripping film. If you think what you saw on the screen is really good, go back and read Old Man Logan and find out how good that could have been. It's a tragedy, I tell you.
I'll agree. Yes. Speaking of tragedy, no, this isn't a tragedy. 2 trailers hit this week that interested me.
Only 2?
One was for a very weird movie called The Little Hours, which is about. I'm trying to figure out how we can discuss this on the show without offending absolutely everyone, because this movie looks like it's going to offend absolutely everyone.
Just offend them. There's no way.
Let's see. Foul-mouthed, horny nuns yell at everybody, starring John C. Reilly as a priest and Fred Armisen as a bishop. And let's see, Paul Reiser is apparently in this, and I haven't seen him in a long time. It's going to be interesting to see how they weave him into this. If I have not seen a trailer you can watch at work, I'm going to phrase it that way. There is a trailer out there. Make sure you're not at work when you're watching it, because you'll get in trouble for watching it. It is what they call
the red band type. Aubrey Plaza, who's one of my favorite actresses. Oh my gosh. I mean, Alison Brie, Aubrey Plaza. Wow. It just looks
normally
so
this isn't the kind
funny.
of movie that I'm interested in, but I watched this trailer and laughed a lot. So, not something to take the kids to at all.
Unless your kids are like in their 20s, maybe. And even then, you might not want to sit there with your kids, because I have a feeling things are going to get kind of wild. No. Yeah.
There's sex in the trailer. That's a hint.
And this is about nuns in the Middle Ages, so keep that in mind when he says there's sex in the trailer. So, I'm really... Comes out June 30th is what it's slated for, so mark that on your calendars. Take your pastor.
Limited release, but I have a feeling it's going to blow up. It looks like it's going to be funny. The other trailer that came out that interested me, although for very different reasons, was a trailer for a forthcoming TV series on the Freeform channel, which is formerly known as ABC Family, for Marvel's Cloak and Dagger series.
Yep.
I wasn't expecting it. I mean, this isn't going to be coming out until next year. Not this fall, next year, as opposed to Star Trek, which we don't have a trailer for, and it's coming out this year. Now, this comes out next year, and we've got a trailer already.
That was
good
surprising.
for them, and it looked interesting. I don't know how good it's going to be. I don't know that it's going to be Daredevil quality. I'm not even sure it's going to be Iron Fist quality, but it looks like it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, the trailer definitely gives you backstory. There's very little of what we think of as if you're familiar with the characters. They don't exactly show a lot of powers. I mean, they show very little of it. I'm a little concerned. The trailer almost seems to be going almost too heavily in like the CW Lifetime movie territory. I mean, it seems a little more angsty than would be necessary. But Teen Runaways, so it does have to be part of the story, because if it's not, they haven't done the characters right. So I get that. It's interesting. Like we talked about trailers. Trailers are supposed to get you interested in the product, and it does. So I would like to see more, but considering it doesn't come out for about a year and a half, it's a pretty good trailer. So there's certainly plenty of time to show more. From the little you see of the leads, pretty cool casting. I like both of them from the little bit you get in the trailer.
Olivia Holt and Aubrey Joseph, which, frankly, I'm not familiar with either of them until this, but I like it. Looks good.
Agreed.
Keep it up.
Agreed.
Saw an article this week that I actually didn't quite get. It's about the original Die Hard movie. And I don't know if you saw this or not. They said it's an explanation of a major plot hole in the original Die Hard. And it was a plot hole that I didn't consider it a plot hole. But it was about how John McClane knew that Hans Gruber was a bad guy when they were doing the thing up on the roof. Or, I'm sorry, that floor just below the roof. And there's this great big explanation, and it turns out it's because there were scenes that were cut that haven't been put back in. Ready? This is going to be a little bit odd, because it's just a lot of little things. To me, I just thought he handed him the gun that was unloaded just because I don't know who the hell this guy is, and I'm covering my own ass in this. No, it turns out he knew that was one of the bad guys, because at the beginning of the movie, there's a bit in the elevator when they find the body, ho, 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 now I have a machine gun or whatever it was, where they're in the elevator and McClane is looking at them and they synchronize their watches, and he notices they're all wearing the same watches. And the bad guys he kills, he notices that all of them have the same watch. And he notices that Hans Gruber has the same kind of watch. Therefore, he must be a bad guy, so hand him an unloaded gun. Now, I can see why they cut that out. Because, holy crap, that's a lot of extra scenes to throw in just for a watch for that one little bit. I like my explanation better of, I don't trust anybody anyway, so I'm not giving you a loaded gun. Which explanation works better for you?
Yours. I mean, I never considered it a plot hole. And plot holes bug me at times, but it's not a big... Like you said, he's a cop. He's not an ice cream salesman. I mean,
It's just a bit much, I think.
He's not some dope. I mean, it's interesting that it came out, and maybe it would have added just a tiny bit. Oh, that makes sense. But I wasn't sitting there wondering, well, why didn't he trust him? It's like, why would he? Doesn't make any sense that he would trust him to begin with. So, yeah, it doesn't seem to be like a plot hole. It's cool that it came out. It's interesting, but I don't think it was a big flaw in the film.
I don't think so either.
It's still not a Christmas movie. It's still not a Christmas movie.
It is to a Christmas movie. It's the best Christmas movie. Best Christmas movie ever.
Anyway.
Yes. So let's see. Let's do a bit of a segue into a movie that I know you want to talk about. I got one last little thing, and that was this weekend. If you have Dish Network, apparently you get Cinemax all free this weekend. And I'm looking at it going, there's nothing here I want to watch. But
that's sad, isn't it?
My wife decided she wanted to watch the theatrical cut of The Suicide Squad. I said, you know what? I'm not doing anything else right now. I'll watch it with you. And I have to admit this, 'cause I thought Suicide Squad was kind of a crap movie, and I had only seen the extended version. It is so much worse without the extended stuff in it. Because there were several things in the movie that, okay, that explains this, and that explains this, and it's not a good explanation, but at least it's an explanation. and they go through and explain a lot of stuff. They did not do that in the theatrical cut. So you kind of go, well, I don't even know what this is anymore. I don't know what that is either. I'm like, they explained it with this, so I'm having to pause the movie and explain it, which would not work in a theater. So, dear DC, when you do theatrical movies, and this goes with the Superbat movie too, because the extended version was so much better, put the extended version in the theater. You might not get as many people to, sit through it and make as much money for the first run, but it'll be in the theater longer because people might actually like it. If it makes sense.
Interesting concept. Or get someone who knows how to write a freaking script and could include details and still come in at 2 hours and 20 minutes, like Marvel manages to do every time. Maybe you should do that. No,
can't do that.
But yeah, I agree. If they think that, okay, this is the script and we have a 3-hour movie, well, then run a 3-hour movie. And yeah, you're going to lose a few showings. But the fact that you may actually have a good movie as opposed to a crap movie, people will be coming back to the theater 4 weeks later to watch it, as opposed to getting word of mouth on the opening weekend that it sucks and not coming to your sucky movie. So you might try that.
At all.
So
just a thought.
Yeah, exactly. It's still kind of depressing that is a better film than Batman v Superman. Actually, it's really depressing that that's a better movie than Batman v Superman. But yeah.
As opposed to their animated movies?
As opposed to their animated movies, which are continually turn in at least really good films, if not great films. And speaking of their animated films, brilliant segue.
What a segue.
What a segue. Yes, I did catch Teen Titans, the Judas Contract. And I'm assuming you have seen Teen Titans, the Judas Contract. So
read the book even.
Well, in that case, I will go first because I have not read the book.
Go for it.
I don't think it's one of their best animated efforts, like Flashpoint Paradox. Awesome. It's still one of my favorites. Yes. But it's really, really good and easily blows out anything DC has done in live action since The Dark Knight. So, yeah, it's better than The Dark Knight Rises. Very good. I have one quibble. The characterizations are great. The voice work is terrific. Miguel Ferrer's Deathstroke, I mean, come on, dude. I mean, that guy is like a major pro and has been since the days of since before RoboCop, and he still kills it. Literally, because anyway, my only quibble. Yeah, I did go there. My only quibble, and yes, this stuff happens in this film that they almost don't show in the live action stuff, so it's not exactly like a kiddie film. It was too obvious who the mole is, who signed, if you want to put it that way, the Judas Contract.
Right.
But other than that, the characterizations are great. You even get a little Kevin Smith, which some people might not appreciate that, but I thought that was awesome because it fits in with the film.
The fact that it is Kevin Smith, he's not playing another character. He plays himself in an animated movie.
Right, which is, and that sequence is fun, and it makes perfect sense, and it ties into the film, and it makes an important point that carries, so it's not just like some little thing, oh, Kevin wants to be in a movie, let's write something. It fits. It's later in the film, but it is kind of important. I don't want to say kind of, but it's important to the plot. I mean, they could have done without it, but it helps bring closure, let's put it that way. So I really, really enjoyed it. I don't understand how the animated division understands how to make superhero films, and they can't not get through their heads in the big boy studio. They just don't get it. How do you not understand how to tell a concise... The movie's an hour and a half long, and it's a very complex plot, and they wrap it up in an hour and a half, and everything makes sense. And it's really, really good. How do you guys not get it at the other side of the fence? I mean, please, let the animated division take over. Because I'm tired of saying, well, that Warner Brothers movie sucked. I'm tired of it. I want these movies to be good. Oh, my gosh.
I do. It's characters I love. I grew up with. I grew up watching, reading the X-Men books. But every so often, I would pick up a Teen Titans book, mainly after they did one of those rare Marvel DC crossovers where they crossed the X-Men with the Teen Titans. And I kind of went, Teen Titans, I kind of like the way they do some of these characters. And one of the books I picked up, and I really wish I still had this because I don't, was one of the Judas Contract books where the original Robin, Dick Grayson, became Nightwing for the first time. Holy crap, do I wish I still had that.
Yeah.
But I don't. And I don't know why. Damn it. Anyway. The book came out in, I think it was 1980. Well, the series of books, it was over a number of issues. Now, the characters in the books were different. But like I said a couple of weeks ago, DC has rebooted a couple times since they did this particular animated movie. So they're using the current version of the Titans, which has different characters. Kid Flash is not in it. Speedy is not in it. Blue Beetle is, though. And it's the latest incarnation of him. So there are going to be differences. Damian Wayne as Robin, along with Nightwing. So that, there are differences. But at the same time, they updated the story enough and kept to the original premise. As for your plot hole as to who signed the Judas Contract kind of thing, in the books, we found out fairly early on who that was. So finding it out in the movie wasn't really that big a deal. There was also the Teen Titans TV series, which was good as far as stories go, but the art and the animation really turned me off in it. But at the same time, they did a variation of it. So a lot of the people who watched that series are going to watch this and go, I know who it's going to be because it's the same person.
Yeah.
But they did considering they had to update it and change a bunch of characters and do things differently because back then there were technology was different back then. They didn't have cell phones. Now they have cell phones in this because they updated the story, but they kept it consistent with the original material, which is something. What's that company? Fox. Fox doesn't have a clue as to how to do that.
No.
And they could learn.
And it's funny that you mentioned that they updated the technology because it just seems odd because Teen Titans, and I know they've obviously been around for a while, but it just seems like that's a newer. It's just funny to think, well, they didn't have cell phones. Cell phones did not exist when this original story was written. It just seems so odd. No. But, perfectly true. I really like the Damian and Dick on the team at the same time because that brings a lot of obviously there's a lot of history there and they touch on that. I mean, it's like I said, the characterizations are great. The acting is great. It's a shame. And maybe when Wonder Woman comes out, the live action version, then maybe they'll have taken some lessons and they'll realize, oh, they have to be kind of fun too. And we can tell complete stories and we don't have to spend 3 hours doing it. So, I mean, I really enjoyed it. It's very, very good. Definitely worth I can't remember now if it's $2.99 or $3.99, but it's one of those on Amazon and, whatever your streaming service is, but it's definitely worth it. And that way you get to watch it like 3 or 4 times. And don't send the link to your friends.
Not even going there.
Yeah. Anyway, really fun. Very enjoyable.
Absolutely. Looking forward to the next one. This is weird. Normally I know what the next animated movie is because they'll drop hints. I haven't seen anything on it, so I hope that wasn't the last of them. Keep it up.
Oh, it won't be. I mean, I'm sure it'll be successful. And I do like they started out, and like they did have Speedy and Kid Flash at the beginning, And
as a flashback.
So, yeah, exactly. So you can see kind of see the team evolve, and I'm sure they can continue doing that as they move along. So very fun, very cool movie. Kind of surprisingly some mature themes, and I don't mean your kids can't watch it, but just an adult, as in you have to think
Not
about
porn.
this, and this makes sense, and very, very good film, very thoughtful film. Tons of action. I'm not saying it's like they sit around and talk for an hour and a half and like, wow, Slade really bums me out. And no, that's not what it is. But it's a very cool movie. That would be an interesting film. It's like the Teen Titans sit around and talk about, man, that Slade, he's just such a bad guy. We should do something about that.
Actually, I forgot. I do know what the next movie is because I looked it up, and I went, oh, yeah, I remember this. It's going to be Batman and Harley Quinn.
Interesting.
Done by Bruce Timm in the style of Batman the Animated Series.
Oh, wow.
With the original
so good.
So
that is so good.
That shows considerable amount of promise. Even though it's not necessarily going to follow the books, which I don't know if it will or not, because I never bought the Batman and Harley Quinn books. But if it's like Batman the Animated Series, which is where Harley Quinn came from anyway.
Right.
She did not first appear in a comic book. She first appeared in Batman the Animated Series.
Hey, if Bruce Timm is doing it, and they've got the original voice cast, it's like, I don't care if they follow the comics or not. And I have absolute faith that they'll turn out a great story. That guy is
mission accomplished.
Not a word I use loosely, but that guy is a genius in his field. Absolutely a genius.
Yes. I'll agree. Circle gets the square. There's a reference no one's going to get. Yes,
Charlie,
look that up.
Charlie Weaver in the bottom right for the block.
Okay, sure. Paul Lind in the center square. All right, so moving on. Where are we going next? I got lost.
Well, we do have a few other trailers we're going to talk about. Alien Covenant.
Yes.
Looks scary. Looks exciting. I like that it's an alien film, so it should look scary and exciting, of course. I like that they stress that these are couples, because that adds a little bit of extra, these just aren't crewmates. These are people who have strong relationships with each other. So hopefully that makes you feel even a little more, as people will begin to die, because it's an alien. People will begin to die. It's hardly a spoiler.
People are going to die in this movie? Oh, now I'm depressed.
The setting looks good. I like a lot the clip when they first get out and they're walking around this beautiful, gorgeous planet. And I don't know which character it is, but she says, do you hear that? There's nothing. There are no birds. There's no sound. And the silence is, you hear the wind blowing, but that's it. And the silence is really, really creepy. And that gives me hope. That gives me hope for that this is going to be back in the vein of the original film, that it's going to have moments of actual real terror, because that alone, they don't use that much, or they don't use it often enough in horror movies, like in The Rings, which I'll talk about in a little bit. That is one thing we talked about. A film that if you did see it, you were sad that you saw it. That was good. But back to Alien Covenant, I'm hopeful that this is finally back in the wheelhouse of Alien or Aliens, because ever since then, the movies have all been good to So it would be really great to finally have one that's, and I know horror films are not your thing, but I'm hopeful that this one gets right back into it. There's nothing in it in the trailer that makes me think it is. Yeah, Alien.
Yes.
Not really a horror film. It's like a space action film that has some scary parts, but I'm hopeful. Nothing in it made me think I was like, this is definitely going to have it, but there's nothing in it that tells me, oh God, they really screwed this up. So after seeing Life and being disappointed in that, I'm still a little hesitant, but hopefully that's good.
Right.
A trailer that I saw that surprised me, because when I heard they're making another King Arthur film, my initial reaction was, oh God, why? Why are they making another? And I thought about it for a while, and I thought, oh God, why? Why are they making another? But the trailer actually looks interesting and exciting and fun, and it's a different take on it. It's a Guy Ritchie film, so obviously it would be a different take on it because there's a lot of action. There's some humor. It actually looks like it might be a fun film, which is almost doesn't fit the story. I mean, when are King Arthur films fun? They're not. So I think this is an interesting spin. Try something different. Don't make the same. It's almost painful sometimes.
Hang on a minute. The Sword and the Stone was a fun King Arthur movie.
Oh, okay. That goes back a while. And it was a very fun King Arthur movie. You're right. Probably the only fun King Arthur movie. Not that they all should be fun. I'm just saying they've come at this so many times, and so often it's just, oh, okay. Excalibur is a very, very weird King Arthur film, but it worked because it was so strange. So I'm actually looking forward to this. I will actually go see this at the theater, and I will probably be bitterly disappointed. But the trailer is fun, and it's selling the story. There are some creatures in it that do not expect to see in a King Arthur film, but it makes sense. So I'm looking forward to that. And Jude Law is always
hang on a minute.
Always worth watching.
You didn't accidentally watch that new Transformers trailer and get it confused with King Arthur, did you?
The Last Night? No, thank goodness.
Okay, good.
I didn't.
Just checking.
I did not confuse it with that. Yeah, there are no robotic monsters. There are other kinds of monsters. But yes, I mentioned Rings. Boy. Yes. Not good. About all I'm going to say about it is they just tried to. It's kind of like a CW version of a scary movie. They cram in. Let's throw in some. There was just so much crap thrown into it, and then they reveal the backstory of Samara, and who is the monster, the chick who crawls out of the TV, and they didn't need to because it makes it less mysterious, and they wasted a really, really good actor, Vincent D'Onofrio, who's awesome. He's awesome in the film, but it's a crap movie. So when it comes on Netflix, just find something else to watch. I'm seriously, it's not even worth watching for free. That was very, very disappointing because I really, really like the original, and I really like the first American remake that came 10,000 years ago with Naomi, who's quite lovely and really, really good in the film. But it's just stupid. It's really bad. A really fun movie, talking about Warner Brothers characters, the Batman Lego movie. I finally got around to watching it this past week, and absolutely fun. Makes fun of the whole Batman persona in a very hard, strong, evil way. I mean, my God. There are some songs in it which you just have to watch this film. It's actually I like the Lego movie. I enjoyed this even more than the Lego movie because Batman is a very cool character. Voice work is terrific. Especially want to point out Ellie Kemper, who plays Phyllis, who is a Lego brick, who oversees the Phantom Zone. Yes, the Phantom Zone is in this. Yeah, and it makes perfect sense. It does. But basically, Batman, because he's a loner, I work alone, he figures out that maybe it's not good to always be a loner. But there are just tons and tons and tons of jokes in this film, and they all work. I mean, there's a reference to, at one point, someone realizes that the Batcave is beneath Bruce Wayne Manor, and someone says, wow, the Batcave is in Bruce Wayne's basement, and Batman says, no. It says Bruce Wayne lives in Batman's attic. So,
okay.
Oh my God, it's a great, really, really fun movie. Plenty for adults, plenty there for kids. It definitely is worth going to the theater and seeing if you can find it somewhere at the theater, which I doubt that you can. But it's worth paying for several times and worth buying. Very fun movie. That's one that you can go back to and watch many, many times because there's so much getting thrown out there. That's really good creative stuff. Awesome fun. Awesome film. There you go.
I just looked, and apparently it's not in the top 56 movies that are out right now. So it's coming out on video soon.
It's
Moana
a shame.
is still in theaters. Go figure.
Really? Wow.
Actually, so is Rogue One.
Film.
I mean, I'm going way down the list.
Yeah.
And I'm coming up with stuff. I'm like, I saw these at Walmart.
Yeah.
On
and people are still going.
So, good movies. So, looking at clock and looking at my list of things that I've run out of, what else have you got this week?
Looking at clock and looking at what else we've run out of.
We try to make this an action-packed, hour-long episode, but every so often I just look at my list and go, I've run out of things. So anyway.
And I have too. Mostly good stuff.
Okay.
Mostly good stuff. Even the stuff that was kind of like doubtful when I first heard about it. Like I said, King Arthur, that looks fun. Guardians of the Galaxy, as you said, I cannot imagine that movie is not going to be hilarious and awesome just because the first was so great. And you look at the trailers and it's just, my gosh. So no shock
it's so promising
at all that he's working on Volume 3. I'm looking forward to the mixtape, which, by the way, you can buy the album. I believe the album I know the album has been released as far as
I'm
what
pretty sure
the track list is, but I'm pretty sure you can buy the album already. Great songs on there. Which, if you want, you can write Mr. Gunn and tell him what songs you would like to hear in Volume 3, because they are taking suggestions and they got some from fans and they're in this film. So that's kind of cool in itself.
The Volume 2 of Guardians of the Galaxy Awesome Mix is now available for download on Amazon.com. It is also available for pre-order on audio CD. It is being released on the 28th. When is that, Friday? That's Friday.
That would be. So there you go.
And now you know.
I will say briefly,
that's
we
coming
have
up later this week.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Baseball Beer and Barbecue will be back on this coming Saturday. We've taken a couple weeks off because people are busy and have lives. So, but baseball was not on hold during that time. So we will be back on this coming Saturday. And you also want to listen. Just search for the 12th Man Rising Seahawks show. Lee is doing the podcast for that, so you want to look for that. And look for the fabulous Ted Hicks and Late Night Parents. That's on Wednesdays. You, sir, have some interesting news.
I do. This Friday, there will be another episode of The FWAT Show on the Coil Entertainment Network, COYL.us, or Coil.us, because it's a thing. This week, there will not be a 2 Pages of Mystery episode, because it's evolving like a Pokemon, only better. It is changing from the 2 pages of mystery to the 2 Pages project. And if you listen to the show, you know the purpose of it was to get everyone published. Send me stories. I turn them into audiobooks and ebooks. And I was limiting it to mystery because I think that's fun. But now it is the 2 Pages project. Send me whatever you want to send me, as long as it's something that you wrote. Don't send me, William Shakespeare wrote this short story. No. I want something you wrote. I will turn it into an ebook and an audiobook. And coming up, it's not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday, I've already got a couple stories lined up. The first one is going to be a spectacular fantasy story by an author by the name of Faye Wallace. Wonderful woman. The story is called A Mother's Story, but it's very highbrow fantasy. It's very cool. You're going to like this. So go ahead and check out 2pagesproject.com. It's already online, but there'll be a couple changes. And if you're interested in the 2 Pages of Mystery stories, those are already on the 2 Pages of Project site in both the audiobook and the ebook forms. So there's a new website to go check out. 2pagesproject.com. It's the number 2 pages project uses letters. Letters don't work there. Numbers don't work there. That's what I meant. I know what I mean. I've run out of ability to speak.
I'm just sending you a little ditty I tossed off called The Telltale Heart. So look for that in your email. It's original.
Look for that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
If you have nothing else, I'm about to hit a button.
I'm done. Good night, everybody.
Ariel! Upa! Ride!
Do you think they will let me live in Montana?
I was thinking of the immortal words of Socrates, who said, I drank what?
Man, we have a weird job.
It's shameful, but it's a living.